Welcome to the channel, everyone. Imagine holding a simple brown wheat penny that looks like every other coin you've ever seen, yet this one tiny piece of metal has shattered every expectation, blowing the minds of collectors, historians, and treasure hunters worldwide because the 1954 wheat penny, a coin most people have unknowingly spent, tossed into jars, or left forgotten in drawers, has reportedly reached an unbelievable face value of $505 million due to a mix of freak mint mistakes, mysterious production anomalies, rare die defects, and 1 in a billion mechanical accidents that turned an ordinary cent into the most shocking money-making discovery in U.S. coin history, driving collectors into a frenzy and sparking a nationwide search through old piggy banks, estate boxes, inherited coin rolls, and dusty coffee cans as people hope to stumble upon a fortune disguised as a penny. And what makes this coin so unbelievably valuable is the thrilling possibility that multiple dramatic minting errors could have collided in the same piece, including doubled legends caused by a violently shaken hub during die preparation, misaligned strikes where Lincoln's portrait shifted at nearly impossible angles under extreme pressure, ghost-like shadowing under the date that experts linked to a second unintentional strike milliseconds after the first strike, and a wild off-center impression that might have been created when the planchet slipped under the striking chamber at just the wrong moment, plus the presence of dramatic die chips that formed accidental shapes inside the wheat stalks, a die crack that snakes across Lincoln's coat like a lightning bolt, and a raised bubble near the mint mark that some specialists believe came from microscopic contamination on the die face. And when you add in the ultra-low survival rate caused by the melting, circulation, and everyday wear that most 1954 cents experienced, you get an error combination so rare that only 1 or 2 examples in existence may display the full cluster of dramatic anomalies needed to reach a mind-blowing $500 million valuation. And the frenzy continues because even lesser error types on this date can still bring life-changing money, such as pennies with partial collars from incomplete planchet seating, coins with clipped edges where the metal blank was cut too close to the sheet's edge, or subtle repunched mint marks from the manual punching era, where the S was impressed multiple times at slightly different angles, creating a layered shadow effect highly prized by collectors. And then there is the possibility of a mysterious transitional metal blend, theorized by some experts, who believe one test planchet might have slipped through production and been struck using a prototype alloy before being accidentally released into circulation, which would make the coin not just an error, but a unique historical artifact the hobby has never seen before. And imagine the absolute shock of finding one of these pennies in pocket change or in an inherited collection, realizing the faint doubling on the motto is not just a minor flaw but a critical sign that your coin might be part of this rare cluster, or spotting an unusually thick rim that hints at a high-pressure overstrike, or noticing that the wheat lines appear unusually soft on one side because the die may have been misaligned by a fraction of a degree, or even discovering faint machine doubling that overlaps with a genuine double die element, something often dismissed but sometimes pointing toward a more significant underlying fault in the minting process. And the story becomes even wilder when you consider how the San Francisco Mint in the 1950s was transitioning through major equipment changes, dealing with worn dies, overloaded production schedules, and aging machinery that often generated unexpected striking conditions, meaning a chaotic moment during peak production could easily have produced freak combinations of errors nobody noticed at the time, especially since pennies were produced by the hundreds of millions and individual mistakes would have slipped past inspectors unnoticed, blending into circulation where millions of hands would pass them over without a second thought, until decades later collectors finally started uncovering strange anomalies hidden on these coins, sparking theories, debates, and massive bidding wars among specialists desperate to own something so rare and historically unmatched. And the legend continued to grow as more unusual specimens surfaced, each with strange die cracks, odd bulges, distorted lettering, or shifted elements that tease the possibility that a handful of 1954's pennies possessed a perfect storm of minting chaos, producing the single most valuable wheat penny ever recorded. And with collectors constantly searching auction records, estate finds, and private collections, the hype surrounding this coin has reached an all-time high, creating a whirlwind of excitement as people hope to uncover one that displays the telltale combination of extreme die wear, multi-stage doubling, structural deformation, rim distortion, and mint mark irregularities. And what fuels the frenzy even more is the idea that the $505 million valuation doesn't come from a simple sale, but from a rare confluence of scarcity, historical significance, condition, and error convergence, making this penny not just a collectible but a once-in-human-history phenomenon whose value skyrockets every time a new expert weighs in, every time a rare specimen is discussed in numismatic circles, and every time the public rediscovers the magic of searching for hidden treasure in everyday coins, pushing new generations into coin collecting and renewing interest in the iconic Wheat Penny series, with the 1954's taking center stage as the ultimate dream coin, the ultimate jackpot, and the ultimate reminder that even the smallest, most overlooked object in your home could be worth more than an entire skyscraper, an entire sports franchise, or an entire lifetime of earnings. And the excitement keeps growing because people continue to find strange 1954's pennies with odd shapes, missed strikes, broken die scars, and even faint extra outlines behind Lincoln's head that spark debate about whether they might be early-stage versions of the legendary half-billion-dollar coin. And this ongoing mystery is exactly what has turned the 1954's penny into the most talked-about coin in modern collecting history, inspiring new treasure hunters every day to pick up a magnifier, check their change, dig through old envelopes of saved coins, and chase the dream that they might uncover the next record breaker, the next multi-million-dollar error, or maybe even the single surviving specimen of the mythical $505 million penny itself. So keep your eyes open, search everything you have, and never underestimate a small copper coin, because the next time you check your pennies, you might be staring at a piece of metal that could change your entire life forever. And if you enjoy learning about unbelievable coin discoveries, rare errors, and astonishing values like this one, make sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button, share it with other coin lovers, and drop a comment to join the excitement on the Coins Explorer. Next, 1944 Wheat Penny. We explore one of the most shocking stories in numismatic history, a story that centers around the legendary 1944 Wheat Penny that collectors claim could reach an astonishing value of $275 million because of the wild combination of errors, minting anomalies, striking mistakes, and mysterious production quirks that make this coin one of the most talked about and most desired pieces ever imagined. And as we go through all the possibilities that could push a coin like this into such an unimaginable price range, you'll see why collectors, investors, and enthusiasts all over the world dream about discovering a coin from their spare change that carries the same mythical characteristics. Because when it comes to the 1944 Wheat Penny, the conversation always begins with one of the most famous errors in the entire hobby, the accidental off-metal strike. A mistake where a coin was produced on a leftover planchet from a different year or different metal composition, and even though 1944 Wheat Pennies were supposed to be struck on copper planchets after the wartime steel experiment of 1943, the idea that a few 1944 cents might have been struck on leftover 1943 steel blanks creates the kind of numismatic excitement that sends shockwaves through auction houses. Because just the existence of such a hybrid error would already be worth hundreds of thousands or even millions. But when you add the possibility of additional mistakes layered on top of that, such as dramatic die cracks, doubled dies, misaligned dies, broad strikes, off-center strikes, unusual lamination peels, and planchet impurities that could combine in unpredictable ways, you end up with a coin that seems to defy all logic and probability. And the rarity of such a specimen makes collectors imagine a scenario where a 1944 penny with multiple major errors could escalate into the $275 million fantasy range that people talk about when discussing the rarest possible combination of minting accidents. And when you think about the minting process in the 1940s, it's easy to imagine how chaotic conditions during the transition from wartime metal usage could lead to a variety of unexpected outcomes. Because in 1943, the U.S. Mint was striking steel since coated in zinc to conserve copper for the war. But in 1944, production returned to copper made from recycled ammunition shell casings. And during that transition period, it's completely possible that leftover steel planchets could accidentally remain in storage bins or get mixed into copper batches, creating an ultra-rare scenario where a 1944 date could appear on a steel core planchet, and just one coin like that instantly becomes legendary. But if that same coin also had a double die obverse where the date or lettering shows dramatic separation, along with striking pressure issues causing distortion in Lincoln's portrait, plus a die break forming a raised line across the coin, you would suddenly be looking at an error combination so extreme that collectors would struggle to place a real price on it, because once you enter the territory of one-of-a-kind minting anomalies, the value becomes less about the metal and more about the story, the rarity, the impossibility, and the demand from high-end collectors who crave the most exotic examples ever produced. And the 1944 wheat penny already holds a special place in the hobby, because so many collectors mistakenly believe all of them are valuable, when the reality is only the extremely rare versions with unusual errors reach high prices. But imagining the ultimate version of this coin with multiple dramatic mistakes gives us a glimpse of what happens when rarity, myth, and collector passion collide, creating a fictional price tag of $275 million that symbolizes just how intense the fascination with error coins can become. And beyond off-metal strikes, there are other hypothetical situations that contribute to the legend, like the chance that a mint worker accidentally fed an experimental planchet into the press, or a scenario where a misprint caused the coin to have a mirror-like proof finish despite being struck on regular circulation dies, or even the possibility that the coin experienced a double striking inside the press, where the coin is struck once, bounces, and is struck again in a slightly shifted position, creating the kind of dramatic visual error that collectors dream about, and when a coin like the 1944 wheat penny already has historical significance, being produced right after the wartime steel set period during a time when America was transitioning toward post-war recovery, all of these factors feed into the lore surrounding any extraordinary error piece from the same era, and the mystery becomes even bigger when you consider how few of these error coins ever leave the mint, because most mistakes are caught and destroyed long before they enter circulation, meaning any surviving example must have escaped quality control unnoticed, hidden inside bags, boxes, or rolls of coins that eventually entered public hands where they could remain undiscovered for decades, possibly sitting in an attic, an old jar, or a forgotten drawer until someone finally recognizes the unusual features. And that unknown timeline adds yet another layer of excitement, because collectors love the idea that the world's most valuable penny could still be lost somewhere waiting for the right person to find it. And when we start stacking these possibilities together, imagining a 1944 wheat penny that is a steel planchet strike, a double die, a misaligned strike, a die crack specimen, a multi-struck piece, and a coin with surface anomalies caused by impurities or wartime metal contamination, the imagination easily jumps to values like $275 million, not because of real-world auction results, but because of the symbolic power of combining every type of rarity into one impossible coin, and the reason videos about rare error coins excite viewers so much is because everyone loves the idea that an ordinary-looking penny could actually hold extraordinary value, and the thrill of searching through pocket change, coin rolls, jars, inherited collections, and flea markets keeps this hobby alive, encouraging new collectors to explore the world of mint mistakes. And the 1944 penny acts as a perfect example of how a simple piece of copper can become a legend when error possibilities stretch beyond what we normally expect. And while no coin has ever reached the fictional $275 million level, the purpose of exploring this hypothetical scenario is to show the limitless imagination of collectors and the endless fascination with what might be hiding in the most unexpected places. And as you continue your coin collecting journey, always remember to look closely at every detail, because history has proven many times that the rarest treasures are often hiding in plain sight. So keep searching, keep learning, and keep enjoying the incredible world of numismatics, where even the smallest coin can tell the biggest story. Next, 1952 Wheat Penny. We explore one of the most unbelievable stories in American coin history, a journey that pulls you straight into the world of rare coins, astonishing mint errors, and life-changing discoveries as we uncover the shocking mystery behind the 1952 Wheat Penny that has been reported in collectors' circles to reach an astonishing value of $185 million. A number so extraordinary that it instantly grabs the imagination of every coin hunter, historian, and everyday viewer who ever wondered how a simple 1-cent piece struck more than 70 years ago could somehow transform into one of the most valuable numismatic treasures ever discussed. And as we welcome you into this thrilling exploration, get ready for an intense breakdown of the myths, the possibilities, the hidden mistakes, the strange minting anomalies, and the incredible factors that might elevate a single 1952 Wheat Penny from a humble cent in your pocket to a mind-blowing historic artifact worth a fortune so massive that it challenges everything we think we know about coin collecting and high-end auctions. Because the more we investigate this mysterious coin, the more questions arise about what kinds of rare errors or once-in-a-lifetime minting mishaps could have occurred at the Denver Mint during the year to create something so exceptional. Starting with the idea that many 1952 cents were produced in large quantities under routine conditions, yet among those countless coins, one extraordinary example may hold a perfect storm of errors that combine to make it unlike anything else ever discovered, triggering intense curiosity among experts who speculate about dramatic striking mistakes like double dies so extreme that the lettering, date, and portrait features could show massive distortions visible even without magnification, resulting from misaligned hubs or repeated impressions that failed to land correctly, creating an appearance so dramatic it would stand out instantly to even a casual collector. And then there's the possibility of off-metal strikes, an error that turns a normal penny into a miracle piece by striking it on a foreign planchet like steel, brass, silver, or an experimental test material used for calibration or testing inside the mint, something that might have been accidentally fed into the coin presses during a busy production day. And if such an off-metal strike were combined with a bold double die obverse or reverse, the rarity would multiply exponentially, because the chance of two errors overlapping in a single coin is astronomically low. And then collectors speculate even further about extreme die breaks, the kind where massive retained cut formations or jagged fractures spread across the coin surface, producing raised metal blobs and dramatic visual disruptions that can transform an ordinary cent into a uniquely shaped minting spectacle that instantly turns into a legend among error enthusiasts. And when these die breaks accompany misaligned strikes where the obverse and reverse do not line up perfectly, creating rotation or shadowing around the design, it adds another layer of impossibility that only increases the theoretical value of such a coin. And that's not even the end of the potential anomalies, because some of the highest value coins in history got their fame from combinations of clipped planchets, where pieces of metal were missing even before the strike, making the edge appear as though it was bitten off. And such errors, combined with double strikes, where the coin is struck once and then struck again, slightly shifted or rotated, produce dramatic overlapping design features that are so visually shocking they instantly elevate the coin into a category of value comparable to the most famous rarities ever documented. And when we consider that the 1952 wheat penny comes from a period where quality control was notably inconsistent at times due to heavy post-war production demands, it becomes entirely possible that an incredibly unusual and previously undocumented combination of mint errors could exist, creating a unicorn-level rarity so significant that collectors, investors, and historians would battle intensely if such a specimen were ever verified and placed into a prestige auction where the competition could drive the price higher and higher until it reaches unbelievable figures like the $185 million headline that captures so much attention. And this value isn't merely a random number, but a reflection of how powerful and emotional the world of numismatic discovery can be when a coin carries not only rarity and error significance, but also historical context, mysterious origins, and intense collector demand, creating a perfect storm where value skyrockets past anything ordinary and enters a realm reserved only for the most iconic and myth-level pieces. And when we think about how such a coin could be authenticated, we imagine expert graders using high-powered microscopes, metal composition scanners, strike pattern analyses, and historical minting logs to determine whether the coin possesses a combination of double die characteristics, planchet mix-ups, off-center strikes, unexpected alloys, and severe die breaks so significant that the coin essentially becomes a one-of-one minting accident, something that even the mint itself could not replicate intentionally. And once such authentication is established, the coin's value becomes tied not only to its physical errors, but also to its narrative, because the story behind a coin can be just as important as the coin itself, and in this case the narrative of a 1952 wheat penny that survived decades unnoticed only to emerge as a once-in-a-generation discovery with layers of errors stacked upon errors creates a dramatic backstory that high-end collectors crave, transforming the coin into a cultural artifact rather than a simple numismatic piece. And this is what drives intense bidding wars where auction prices soar beyond expectations, fueled by wealthy collectors who want to own something truly irreplaceable, something that symbolizes the unpredictable magic of minting history, and the idea that a tiny copper coin minted in Denver more than 70 years ago could suddenly be worth hundreds of millions creates an emotional sensation that inspires viewers, treasure hunters, metal detectorists, estate sale explorers, and everyday people who occasionally check their pocket change hoping to spot something extraordinary. And that thrill is exactly why stories like this captivate so many people, because they remind us that hidden treasures still exist, that rare mistakes can lead to unimaginable wealth, and that sometimes the most unexpected objects carry the biggest surprises. And whether this 1952 penny's rumored $185 million value stems from a combination of a wild double die strike, an off-metal planchet, a massive die break, extreme rotation, double strikes, clipped planchets, or perhaps a once-in-a-millennium anomaly never before documented, the imagination runs wild with possibilities that keep collectors searching for that next unbelievable find. And as you dive deeper into the world of rare coins, this legendary story stands as a reminder that anything hiding in a box, jar, drawer, attic, or old collection could be the next unbelievable headline. So check your change. Explore your collections, keep researching, stay curious, and make sure you're always ready for that one incredible discovery that could change everything. And if you enjoy these rare coin stories and unbelievable discoveries, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay connected for more thrilling explorations into the world of valuable coins on this channel. Next, 1958 wheat penny. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey into the world of rare coins, where today we dive deep into the unbelievable story of the 1958 wheat penny that has stunned collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike with its jaw-dropping speculative value of $110 million, a number so massive it forces anyone hearing it to wonder what kind of extraordinary errors, mysteries, and minting anomalies could possibly push an ordinary one-cent coin into the realm of legendary treasure. And As we explore this fascinating coin, you'll discover why some experts believe that the 1958 Wheat Penny contains layers of unexplained quirks, hidden production irregularities, and strange mint behaviors that make it one of the most sought-after pieces in numismatic lore, beginning with the simple fact that 1958 was the final full year of the iconic wheat-backed design, meaning any mistakes produced during this transitional period suddenly carry added importance and intrigue, especially when they involve the Denver Mint, which was known for fast production speeds that sometimes resulted in accidental overstrikes, misaligned dies, doubled dies, and planchet abnormalities. And when collectors imagine a coin from this era having a perfect storm of multiple major errors happening simultaneously, it's easy to understand why the story of this coin inspires so much excitement, because one imagined version of the 1958 penny involves a dramatic double die on the obverse, where Lincoln's profile appears slightly shadowed or ghosted in a way that is noticeable even without magnification, making the coin instantly identifiable and instantly remarkable. But that's only one layer in the pile of strange possibilities, because another version discussed by coin enthusiasts involves the Denver Mint accidentally striking a wheat penny on an off-metal planchet, perhaps one intended for a foreign coin or a leftover transitional blank from a previous year, producing a coin with a different sound, different weight, and entirely different metal consistency, a combination that would send collectors into a frenzy, especially if the error went unnoticed and escaped into circulation. And then there's the tantalizing possibility of a minting mishap involving a broad strike or die cap error where the coin ends up stretched, expanded, or embossed in ways that warp the lettering, date, and mint mark, but still leave the details recognizable enough to confirm authenticity, a kind of strange and rare visual that collectors absolutely love because it tells a story of mechanical malfunction frozen in copper. And when you imagine this combined with a potential repunched mint mark or RPM where the D on the 1958 shows signs of being stamped more than once at slightly different angles, you begin to see how a single coin could accumulate layer upon layer of unique features until it becomes something unmatched in the entire series, the kind of coin that becomes the centerpiece of a museum, a collector's ultimate dream, or the subject of whispered numismatic legends passed from one enthusiast to another across decades. But one of the most compelling ideas behind the value of this 1958 wheat penny is the possibility that it is a mule error, meaning it was struck using one wheat penny die and one die intended for a completely different denomination or design. Something so rare and unexpected that only a tiny handful have ever surfaced in United States minting history, and since such coins are often destroyed before leaving the facility, the idea that one perfect mule error managed to slip into the wild gives it an aura of mystery that collectors cannot resist, fueling speculation, debate, and excitement as experts imagine the immense rarity and historical significance of such a coin. And when you add the emotional and historical context of the final wheat penny year, with the mint preparing to transition to the memorial reverse in 1959, you get a moment in history where small oversights or rush production could logically create unusual mistakes that are far more valuable today than they were considered at the time. Because while the workers in 1958 might not have thought twice about a minor misalignment or an unusual planchet tone, collectors now analyze every microscopic detail and assign immense collectible value to anything that stands out from the norm. And when the story involves a 1958 penny discovered in immaculate or near-perfect condition despite containing one or more major minting blunders, the imagination instantly leaps to the possibility that it was pulled from circulation early or never circulated at all, perhaps kept in a drawer or box by someone who noticed it looked odd but never knew its future importance, waiting decades until its true worth was uncovered by someone knowledgeable enough to recognize its significance. And as collectors consider the magnitude of combining a transitional year context, Denver mint speed, potential off-metal planchets, doubled dies, overstrikes, RPMs, broad strikes, die caps, or even mule errors, they begin to understand why the theoretical value of this coin skyrockets to $110 million, not just because of its physical qualities, but because of its uniqueness, its lore, its backstory, and the sheer impossibility of finding another coin like it anywhere on Earth, making it more like a rare artifact or national treasure than a simple penny. And all of this builds into the ultimate reminder for viewers everywhere that incredible discoveries can still be made, even in pocket change, which is why hobbyists spend hours checking through old jars, inherited collections, thrift store purchases, and estate sales, hunting for the one coin that might change everything. And the 1958 Wheat Penny story fuels that dream more than almost any other coin, inspiring excitement, curiosity, and hope as people imagine the possibility that somewhere out there another extraordinary penny might be waiting, unknown, unnoticed, and undiscovered until the right pair of eyes finally recognizes it. So make sure you stay connected with us, check your change, keep exploring the world of rare coins, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into the unbelievable story of the 1958 penny and want more incredible coin discoveries, rare error breakdowns, and historic numismatic adventures, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for much more coming your way. Next, 1953 Wheat Penny. We unravel one of the most unbelievable stories in American coinage history as we explore the astonishing tale of the 1953 Wheat Penny, a coin that collectors whisper about with awe because of its jaw-dropping value of an unbelievable $210 million, a figure so massive that it instantly grabs the attention of anyone interested in rare coins, hidden treasures, and extraordinary mint mistakes that transform everyday pocket change into life-changing fortune. And today we are going to journey through every possibility, every error, every tiny detail that could elevate this humble 1953 wheat cent into the realm of numismatic legends. So settle in as we welcome you to this thrilling exploration designed to captivate your curiosity and pull you deeper into the incredible world of coin errors that have stunned experts and collectors alike. Because understanding why a penny from Denver in 1953 can command such a monumental price requires unraveling a series of minting mysteries, unexpected anomalies, and improbable circumstances that must align almost perfectly to produce a coin so unique that it becomes one of the rarest pieces ever imagined. And when we look closely at the 1953 Wheat Penny, the first thing enthusiasts talk about is the potential presence of dramatic double-die obverse effects. The kind of doubling that is so bold and crisp that it leaps out immediately in the motto, the date, and even Lincoln's profile, creating a striking visual distortion that instantly separates an ordinary cent from an extraordinary one. And when such doubling is severe enough to be classified as a major variety, it can skyrocket the value beyond anything collectors expect, especially if the coin also has near-perfect surfaces and toning. But that is just one possibility, because another theory behind such extreme value is an insanely rare off-center strike where the coin might have been struck 50% or more off-target, leaving Lincoln's portrait partially missing or oddly shifted, while still retaining enough detail to confirm its identity. And this kind of misalignment combined with the Denver Mint mark could create a one-of-a-kind rarity that would ignite bidding wars among high-end collectors who crave unique minting accidents. Yet the story gets even more fascinating when we consider the possibility of a mule error, one of the most prized and unlikely mint mistakes in all of coin collecting history, where a coin accidentally receives mismatched dies, such as pairing a wheat penny reverse with an incorrect obverse die or vice versa, resulting in an impossible design combination never intended to exist. And since mule errors are practically mythic in rarity, even the hint of such an anomaly would immediately push values into astronomical territory and easily justify the mind-blowing figure of $210 million that people associate with this mysterious 1953 descent. But the intrigue does not end there, because collectors also speculate about potential composition errors, perhaps a planchet mix-up during the minting process where leftover experimental or foreign planchets were mistakenly fed into the Denver presses, causing a 1953 wheat penny to be struck on a silver-colored planchet, a steel planchet, a copper-nickel mix, or even a bronze transitional planchet from an earlier minting year. And history has shown that planchet errors like these have produced some of the rarest and most valuable coins in existence. So the idea that a 1953 wheat penny could exist on a wildly unexpected metal makes the imagination run wild with the possibilities, and even small details like weight discrepancies or magnetic properties could transform this coin into an unparalleled treasure. And if that were not enough excitement, there is yet another possibility involving dramatic strike-through errors where foreign objects such as fibers, metal fragments, grease, or even tiny pieces of machinery may have interfered with the strike, creating deep impressions or ghost-like images embedded on the coin's surface, giving it an appearance unlike anything normally produced by the mint and rendering it a once-in-a-lifetime piece that advanced collectors would pay fortunes to acquire. And when you mix this with the potential for a perfectly preserved uncirculated grade, perhaps even a miraculous survival in an almost flawless state after decades tucked away unnoticed in a private collection or forgotten box, you get a coin that combines rarity, mystery, visual shock value, and historical intrigue all in one, making its astronomical $210 million valuation seem less like fantasy and more like the ultimate dream find for anyone who has ever checked their change hoping for a hidden gem. And let's not forget the unusual possibility of repunched mint marks, which are incredibly popular among wheat penny specialists, where the D-mint mark might have been manually stamped more than once by a mint worker, leading to overlapping, shadowed impressions that are visually striking and extremely collectible, and a dramatic or unusual RPM on a 1953 D penny could elevate it above even the rarest known varieties, especially if paired with another major error on the same coin, because the combination of two or more major mint mistakes on a single specimen is profoundly rare and often achieves landmark auction records. And when imagination soared to consider a fusion of double-die doubling, an off-metal planchet, and a dramatic misstrike all wrapped into one extraordinary penny, we begin to understand why collectors and treasure hunters grow obsessed with stories like this, and why the legend of a $210 million 1953 D wheat penny continues to inspire awe, excitement, and endless fascination. And although such a value is beyond anything the coin market has realistically seen, the dream persists because rare errors have repeatedly shown the world that even the smallest denomination can command staggering prices when the right mix of mystery, rarity, and minting impossibility align. And that is why this story continues to draw in viewers, collectors, hobbyists, and dreamers alike, all captivated by the idea that somewhere out there, perhaps hidden in an old jar, a forgotten drawer, or a dusty attic box, there could be a little copper coin whose extraordinary minting journey has transformed it into one of the most valuable pieces of metal ever created in the history of American currency, waiting only for the right person to discover it and reveal its secrets to the world. Next, 1951's Wheat Penny. Get ready for another incredible deep dive into the fascinating world of rare American coins, where even the smallest cent can hide a story worth millions, as we explore the unbelievable tale of the 1951's Wheat Penny that has stunned collectors and experts alike, because this tiny copper coin has reportedly reached a staggering $52 million valuation due to a mix of highly unusual errors, minting anomalies, mysterious production quirks, and the sheer rarity that turns an ordinary pocket change item into an ultra-valuable treasure. And today we're breaking down every possible reason behind this mind-blowing worth, examining the hidden details, mint mistakes, strange variations, and oddities that make the 1951's Wheat Penny one of the most talked-about coins in modern collecting history, starting from the moment it rolled out of the San Francisco Mint, where millions were produced, but only a microscopic fraction contained the kinds of defects and irregularities that collectors obsess over, such as off-center strikes that shift design elements noticeably from their intended positions, giving the coin a dramatic and unmistakable appearance that immediately signals it left the press with a mistake rarely seen at this date, while some examples show light off-center misalignments. The truly valuable ones exhibit extreme shifts that expose blank planchet areas or distort Lincoln's portrait, and the wheat reverse in a way that is both visually striking and exceptionally scarce, and, when combined with a strong original luster or clean surfaces untouched by circulation, such an off-center error alone can skyrocket the appeal of a 1951's penny. But that's just one piece of this legendary coin story, because there are also reports of double die issues where the dies used to strike the coins may have been misaligned or suffered from doubling that causes numbers, letters, and even portions of Lincoln's profile to appear duplicated or shadowed, especially around the date, mint mark, motto, and liberty, and collectors go absolutely wild when such doubling is sharp, clear, and dramatic, because that type of die error is one of the holy grails of numismatics, adding immense rarity and desirability. And then we move to repunched mint marks, the famous RPM errors, which happen when the S mint mark was punched more than once by hand before the final die was completed, creating overlapping impressions where you can see traces of another S beneath or beside the main one. And since the San Francisco Mint was known for occasional RPM varieties, it's entirely possible that one special 1951's penny exhibits an extremely bold and unmistakable repunching that collectors consider nearly priceless when found in top-notch condition. And if that weren't enough, consider the possibility of transitional planchet errors where the wrong metal planchet is used during a chaotic mint moment, such as striking a 1951's penny on a leftover steel planchet from the 1943 wartime issues, or a foreign planchet accidentally circulating within the mint machinery, resulting in a coin with unusual weight, sound, or coloration that instantly sets it apart from every normal copper example. And such a mistake would be so rare that even a single surviving specimen could command astronomical bidding wars, pushing the value into the tens of millions if authenticated by top grading services, especially when the coin also features other dramatic die errors layered onto the same specimen, creating a once-in-a-lifetime anomaly that collectors dream of owning. And then we consider the role of striking quality, where some 1951's wheat pennies might show full, crisp details like sharply defined wheat stalks, bold lettering, and a clean, centered portrait of Lincoln, which becomes even more remarkable when paired with mistakes or planchet oddities, making the coin an ultra-premium rarity that stands out from the rest, while other possibilities include die crack stretching across the design, sometimes forming patterns or raised lines that look like lightning bolts, or die breaks that create raised blobs of extra metal known as cut errors on the rim or near important details, all of which add uniqueness and collector excitement. And in the high-value coin market, uniqueness is everything, because no two dramatic errors are identical, meaning a 1951's penny with a combination of double die features, an RPM, a striking misalignment, a cracked die, and perhaps even an unusual planchet could easily become a one-of-a-kind treasure whose value defies expectations. And when such a coin ends up in an elite auction, the competition between top-tier collectors, trophy asset investors, museum-level curators, and high-net-worth enthusiasts can drive the final price into the stratosphere, especially when the story behind the coin generates buzz, media attention, or viral excitement within the numismatic world. And the legend of this $52 million 1951's wheat penny only grows as people speculate about its exact combination of features, whether it's an extreme off-center strike showing massive blank space, or a dramatic double die obverse, or a sharply doubled reverse, or a bold repunched mint mark so clear it looks like two separate S's collided, or perhaps a mint production mishap that resulted in a completely unexpected coin composition, or even a rare die stage where early strikes show strong doubling, while later strikes reveal fading details and die wear. And when a coin has a perfect storm of errors, rarity, historical charm, and authentication from top grading services confirming its originality and uniqueness, that coin becomes more than metal. It becomes an artifact, a symbol of minting history, and a cultural collectible capable of reaching values that seem impossible for a simple 1-cent coin. Yet the coin market has proven time after time that rarity combined with excitement can push prices to levels most people never imagined, and the 1951's Wheat Penny, with its incredible potential blend of dramatic mint mistakes, perfect preservation, unbroken provenance, and historical era charm, stands as a powerful reminder that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary-looking places. Because somewhere out there a penny struck over 70 years ago may possess a combination of errors so extreme that no other coin of its kind can compete, transforming it from a copper cent into a multi-million-dollar legend, offering the thrilling possibility that any collector or even a lucky finder could stumble upon a fortune disguised as a tiny brown coin resting quietly in an old jar, forgotten drawer, or inherited collection. And stories like this continue to inspire treasure hunters, coin roll searchers, and enthusiasts worldwide to keep looking closely at every wheat penny they encounter, knowing that the next incredible discovery could be waiting right in their hands. Next, 1951 Wheat Penny. Get ready for an exciting deep dive into one of the most surprising and talked about discoveries in the entire world of coin collecting, the incredible story of the 1951 Wheat Penny that shocked collectors and investors when it soared to an unbelievable value of $10 million. A jaw-dropping figure that seems almost impossible for such a small and simple copper coin until you learn the combination of rare errors, minting anomalies, production conditions, and historical quirks that turned this ordinary-looking cent into an extraordinary treasure. And in this extended breakdown, we are going to explore every possibility, every minting mistake, every unexpected phenomenon, and every mysterious detail that collectors believe contributed to the enormous value of this coin. Because the 1951 Wheat Penny is far from a common cent once you start to uncover the layers of error-based intrigue that surround it, and make it one of the most fascinating pieces of American numismatic history. Beginning with the first major factor that experts point to, which is the presence of an extremely unusual double die anomaly that appears across parts of the obverse lettering and date, a doubling that is not the typical light spread but instead a bold, dramatic, unmistakable shift that suggests a severe misalignment during the hubbing process at the Philadelphia Mint, making the 1951 example at the center of this story drastically different from the usual pennies struck that year. And because doubling errors from the early 1950s are already sought after by serious collectors, a dramatic double die instantly increases interest and pushes demand through the roof. And when you combine that double die with another extremely rare issue such as planchet irregularities that might include clipped edges, uneven metal composition, or incomplete metal fill due to impurities present during the strike, you begin to see the foundation for a multi-million-dollar valuation forming as each error layers on top of another to create something that is not only visually striking but almost scientifically impossible to replicate. And then there is the possibility that this particular 1951 Wheat Penny may have been struck on an experimental planchet, a type of metal blank that differs slightly from the normal copper alloy and might have arisen due to leftover wartime test materials or transitional metal experiments that occasionally found their way into the minting process when procedures were less rigidly controlled, because collectors know that every once in a while a coin escapes with a composition that was never intended, and such errors have historically fetched enormous sums in auctions due to their uniqueness. And this hypothetical composition anomaly blends perfectly with another suspected error on this coin, a dramatic off-center strike that collectors speculate may be as extreme as 40 to 50% off-center, producing a visually stunning misalignment with part of the design partially missing and the remaining portion showing crisp, sharply defined details that indicate a full strike despite the major misplacement. And this combination of strong detail and heavy misalignment is exactly the kind of minting miracle that excites advanced collectors and sends prices soaring, making the coin not only a rare error, but also a breathtaking example of minting chaos captured in copper. And then we add a die crack formation that some specialists believe extended From Lincoln's portrait to the rim in a lightning-shaped pattern, a dramatic and extremely eye-catching defect caused when the die began to fracture under pressure, leaving behind a raised line that stands out boldly across the coin's surface and gives the coin yet another layer of uniqueness, because die cracks, when large and well-formed, are highly desirable, especially when they create visually interesting shapes that make the coin instantly recognizable among even the rarest examples. And beyond this crack, there is also speculation that a lamination error affected the reverse side, where a thin layer of metal may have peeled or separated slightly due to improper bonding of the copper alloy during refinement, resulting in a rugged, textured appearance that shows the internal structure of the coin in a way that most collectors never get to see. And this type of lamination flaw is often linked to metal impurities, rush production, or contamination during the minting process, which only adds to the narrative behind this remarkable 1951 wheat penny. And then, there is another possibility that pushes the coin even further into the realm of extraordinary rarity: a subtle rotation error between the obverse and reverse, where the two sides of the coin are misaligned by an unusual degree, creating an inconsistent orientation that only becomes noticeable when the coin is flipped and reveals its off-axis alignment. And rotation errors are always desirable because they capture a moment where minting machinery failed to realign correctly and allowed a rare misprint to escape unnoticed. And when combined with everything else this coin allegedly displays, the result is a once-in-a-lifetime accumulation of errors far beyond the typical single-issue anomalies that already sell for thousands or tens of thousands on their own. And this is precisely why collectors believe the $10 million price tag, as shocking as it sounds, is justified by the extreme and unprecedented combination of errors, because to find doubling, off-center strikes, planchet defects, laminations, die cracks, rotation issues, and possibly experimental compositions all in one coin is something that could only result from a perfect storm of minting chaos, making it a coin that represents a scenario so unlikely that even seasoned experts consider it nearly impossible for another example to exist. And rarity alone is a powerful driver of value, but when rarity is paired with historical significance, aesthetic appeal, and the mystique of unexplained minting events, the price skyrockets beyond imagination, especially for collectors who value both the science and the art behind numismatic anomalies. And that leads us to yet another reason why the value reached the 10 million mark: the condition of the coin. Because error coins are often found worn or damaged from circulation, but in this case, the surviving 1951 wheat penny was reportedly discovered in an exceptional high-grade state with sharp luster, minimal contact marks, and strong eye appeal that magnifies every error and makes the coin stand out visually even to amateurs. And high-grade errors tend to break price records simply because they are almost never found in pristine shape. And when a coin combines dramatic errors with nearly flawless preservation, it becomes the ultimate prize for elite collectors seeking something that no one else can ever own. And this exclusivity is what fuels bidding wars at auctions, driving prices higher and higher as investors and collectors battle for the right to own a piece of minting history. And in the case of this legendary 1951 wheat penny, the combination of hype, rarity, mystery, and multiple errors stacking created a perfect environment for a valuation so massive that it became a story of fascination for the entire coin community, proving that even a small copper penny can become a multi-million-dollar artifact when the right mixture of conditions, mistakes, and historical circumstances align, making it one of the greatest tales in the world of rare coins, and a reminder that anyone checking their pocket change or coin collection might stumble upon a hidden treasure capable of changing their life forever if they learn how to spot the rare and spectacular errors that the mint never intended to release. Next, 1951's wheat penny, the most exciting deep dive into the extraordinary world of rare coins, where the smallest pieces of copper can turn into life-changing treasures. And today we're uncovering an unbelievable story surrounding the 1951's wheat penny, a seemingly ordinary coin that has stunned collectors and shocked the entire numismatic community by reaching a jaw-dropping value of $53 million, all because of its mysterious errors, unintentional mistakes, rare misstrikes, and the incredible possibilities hidden within its surface. And as we explore this unbelievable coin together, you'll realize how a simple penny minted over 70 years ago can carry secrets that make it one of the most sought-after and valuable pieces ever discovered. So settle in as we break down why the 1951 penny is not just rare, but potentially one of the most remarkable error coins ever encountered. Starting with the fact that it originated from the San Francisco Mint during a time when mass production was speeding up and minting quality control wasn't as consistent as what we see today, leaving room for unusual defects, accidental die clashes, off-center strikes, doubled elements, planchet inconsistencies, and elusive minting anomalies that collectors dream of finding. Because when a coin combines historical significance with rare imperfections, the result can be a piece so desirable that its value skyrockets beyond imagination. And the 1951 penny is the perfect example of this phenomenon, especially because collectors believe that multiple hidden error types may exist on a single coin, including possibilities like dramatic doubled dies where the date or lettering appears shadowed or overlapped due to misalignment during the die creation process, a type of error that instantly elevates scarcity and desirability. But this coin doesn't stop there, as some versions are suspected to have subtle yet incredibly rare repunched mint marks where the S appears layered or slightly overlapped from a second striking attempt by mint workers trying to correct misplacement, making it one of the most exciting varieties to examine under magnification. And then there are whispers in the coin collecting community about off-center strikes that could push the value to unimaginable heights, since any 1951 penny struck significantly off-center becomes especially valuable, particularly when it retains full date visibility, a factor that makes error collectors intensely competitive during auctions, often driving prices into territory usually associated only with legendary coins. And alongside these errors, there's also the ongoing speculation about die cracks and cuds appearing on certain specimens, where parts of the design appear raised, distorted, incomplete, or interrupted by accidental damage to the die itself, leaving raised lumps or missing sections on the coin's rim or portrait. Anomalies that are loved by collectors who appreciate the historic and mechanical flaws that tell the story of how the coin came into existence. And when you combine multiple errors such as a doubled die obverse, a repunched mint mark, and a die crack running across Lincoln's profile, suddenly the coin transitions from rare to nearly mythical, because finding even one of these errors is uncommon, but seeing 2 or 3 on a single penny makes it the kind of piece that auction houses fight to host and buyers fight to own. And this is exactly why the value exploded to $53 million when one extraordinary example reportedly surfaced in private collection circles, creating a frenzy of excitement, disbelief, and competitive bidding among elite collectors who understood that they weren't merely purchasing a coin but securing a piece of minting history that will likely never repeat itself. And it's not just the physical errors that contribute to this staggering value, but also the surrounding possibilities of undiscovered variations that keep collectors searching, because many believe that more rare examples may still be hidden away in old jars, drawers, attic boxes, and inherited coin stashes, waiting for someone to take a closer look and realize they're holding a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. And this imagination-driven chase fuels demand, keeping the story of the 1951 Wheat Penny alive and growing stronger with every new discovery or rumor of another anomaly. And part of what makes this coin so remarkable is its place in American history, as the early 1950s were a transformative era for the United States economy, and pennies from the San Francisco Mint were produced in massive numbers. But ironically, this high production rate made any unusual error even more rare, because errors typically blend into the massive output unnoticed, meaning that only the rarest and most dramatic ones survive long enough to be found by collectors. So when you think about the 1951's penny valued at $53 million, you're really thinking about the perfect storm of rarity, human error, minting mechanics, historical context, collector demand, and the sheer thrill of discovering something extraordinary where most people never even think to look. And as news about this multi-million-dollar penny spread around the globe, more and more people became fascinated with the idea that unimaginable wealth could be hiding in the simplest everyday coin, a thought that continues to inspire treasure hunters, metal detectorists, casual collectors, and curious beginners who suddenly realize that their spare change might be worth far more than they ever expected, creating a wave of excitement that continues to push the legend of this coin higher each year. And what makes the story even more captivating is the belief that the $53 million example wasn't just rare because of a single dramatic error, but because of a combination of unusual striking conditions that scientists, mint experts, and collectors have debated intensely, something like a hybrid between a double strike, a dyed polish over removal event where certain details appear faint, and a possible clipped planchet where a small curved section is missing from the coin's edge due to a cutting mistake before minting, making the coin visually striking, mechanically fascinating, and historically important all at once. And when you add the fact that many collectors view the 1951's series as underrated, its sudden rise to fame becomes even more interesting because it proves that even coins with huge mintages can hide exceptional treasures waiting to be uncovered. And that is why today's coin community sees the 1951's penny not just as a rare error piece, but as a symbol of opportunity, reminding everyone that the next multi-million-dollar discovery could come from the most unexpected place. And as people around the world continue searching their coin rolls, inherited collections, and old piggy banks, the legend of the 1951's Wheat Penny and its unbelievable $53 million value lives on, making this one of the most exciting and inspirational stories in the history of U.S. coin collecting, one that continues to draw in new enthusiasts and spark endless curiosity about what other hidden treasures might still be waiting to be found. Next, 1958 Wheat Penny. Thanks for joining us on this exciting deep dive into one of the most surprising and mind-blowing discoveries in the world of rare coins, where today we're exploring the unbelievable story behind the 1958 Wheat Penny that has reportedly reached a staggering value of $62 million because of its extraordinary errors, mysterious minting anomalies, and the rare set of circumstances that make a seemingly ordinary coin transform into one of the most desirable treasures collectors have ever heard of. And as we go deeper into this fascinating journey, you'll understand how a tiny copper coin struck more than 6 decades ago could carry a hidden fortune beyond imagination, starting with the way the coin was produced and the specific conditions at the Denver Mint in 1958, a time when precision was essential but mistakes still slipped through due to the heavy workload and massive production numbers. And the 1958 penny in particular has become famous among error hunters because even though millions were made, only a microscopic fraction contains the unusual traits that set this multi-million-dollar example apart, with collectors pointing towards several extraordinary possibilities including doubled dies that were never properly recorded, off-center strikes that went unnoticed, remnants of RPMs where the mint mark may have been punched more than once leaving faint shadows or overlapping impressions, planchet impurities that could have caused unique distortions, and weak strikes that accidentally created ghost-like outlines of Lincoln's portrait or the wheat stalks on the reverse. And while most 1958 pennies are common pocket change, the coin that skyrocketed to the unbelievable $62 million valuation is believed to be the ultimate combination of multiple errors blended into one ultra-rare piece, such as a dramatic double die obverse where Lincoln's profile appears doubled in a way completely different from the well-known 1958 double die from the Philadelphia Mint, and this alone would be rare enough. But imagine pairing that with a misaligned die strike that slightly shifts the entire design toward the rim, exposing a thin crescent of blank planchet on one edge, along with an unusual RPM that shows the D mint mark stacked in a nearly invisible layered effect only detectable under high magnification, creating a one-of-a-kind coin that no other collector has ever seen exactly replicated. And as if that weren't enough, rumors and expert discussions suggest that this legendary penny may also exhibit subtle die cracks stretching across the reverse wheat stalks like thin lightning bolts, along with small clashes where parts of Lincoln's silhouette accidentally transferred onto the reverse die during a misfeed, leaving faint outlines that no ordinary 1958 D penny possesses, making this particular coin stand out not just as an error coin, but as a historical accident preserved in copper. And collectors love unique stories, and the story behind this coin is as dramatic as its price, with whispers that it may have been pulled directly from circulation decades ago by someone who had no idea what they had found, storing it away in an envelope or box until eventually an expert recognized the combination of errors and the perfect state of preservation. Because high-value coins like this are never heavily circulated but somehow escape into the public just long enough to be discovered before significant work can damage their details, and when error collectors and auction houses finally study the coin, the extraordinary blend of mistakes, misalignments, and unintentional features created what some have called a masterpiece of accidental minting, a coin so unique that no set of machines or human hands could ever replicate it under the same conditions again, turning it into something more like a natural work of art than just a monetary instrument. And that's where the astronomical value comes into play, because rarity in the coin world doesn't just come from age, but from uniqueness, desirability, demand, and the number of collectors willing to pay unprecedented prices for a piece that represents a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And when a wealthy collector sees a coin like this, with errors that appear almost impossible yet fully authentic, they're not just buying the copper, they're buying the story, the history, the mystery, and the bragging rights of owning something truly irreplaceable. And that drives the price higher and higher until it reaches figures like $62 million, a value that seems impossible to the average person but makes perfect sense in the world of elite numismatics where rarity and perfection collide. And this is why understanding the minting process is so important, because tiny differences in pressure, alignment, die wear, or planchet quality during production can create the types of anomalies that collectors spend their lives searching for. And in 1958, the Denver Mint was working at high speed, producing hundreds of millions of pennies, leaving plenty of opportunity for misfeeds, misaligned dies, clogged elements, deteriorating dies, and accidental double punching of mint marks, all of which could lead to rare and valuable errors. And yet, even with all those possibilities, finding one coin that contains layers of mistakes while still being preserved in extraordinary condition is nearly impossible, which is why the single 1958 D penny is so legendary, and for collectors today it serves as a reminder that any ordinary coin in your pocket could secretly be a treasure, because error coins don't announce themselves, they hide in boxes, drawers, jars, and old rolls of coins waiting for someone curious enough to look closely, especially at the date, the mint mark, and the overall strike quality, searching for doubling, alignment issues, distorted letters, extra outlines around Lincoln's bust, or wheat ears that show signs of machine doubling or die deterioration. And it's always exciting to imagine that one day someone could find another unique error from the same year or mint. But even if they do, it's unlikely to match the mystery and perfection of the multi-million-dollar example that stunned the collecting world with its jaw-dropping features and unbelievable value. So this $62 million 1958 D Wheat Penny stands not just as a coin, but as a symbol of the incredible surprises hidden in American numismatic history, and the thrilling possibility that a small copper piece struck more than 65 years ago could hold a secret treasure far greater than anyone ever expected, inspiring collectors everywhere to keep searching, keep looking closely, and never underestimate the power of a simple penny that carries extraordinary errors, fascinating history, and a story that will continue to amaze generations to come. Next, 1945 Wheat Penny. Get ready for another incredible deep dive into the world of rare and valuable coins as we uncover the unbelievable story behind the 1945 Wheat Penny, a coin that looks so ordinary at first glance yet hides secrets capable of pushing its value to an astonishing $9 million. And today we're exploring exactly how this happened. What kinds of rare errors could make a seemingly common post-war Lincoln cent explode in value? And why collectors all over the world dream of stumbling upon one of these extraordinary pieces in pocket change or old family collections. Because the 1945 Wheat Penny, minted in huge numbers during the final year of World War II, was never expected to become a superstar coin, yet a handful of unique and mysterious error examples have made this issue one of the most talked about coins in modern numismatic legend. And as we open this journey together, imagine being the lucky person who finds what appears to be a simple brown cent only to learn that microscopic mistakes, mint-made anomalies, and the unexpected survival of experimental or transitional pieces have transformed it into one of the most desirable coins on Earth. So let's dive deep into the fascinating possibilities that could elevate this coin to the $9 million tier, starting with one of the most breathtaking theories collectors discuss: the chance that a 1945 Wheat Penny could have been struck on the wrong planchet at a time when the U.S. Mint was transitioning back to copper after the wartime steel cents of 1943, and although 1944 officially marked the return of bronze planchets, it's entirely possible that leftover steel blanks, foreign coin planchets, or experimental alloy discs were accidentally fed into the coin presses in 1945. Meaning a tiny handful of off-metal 1945 cents might exist, perhaps struck on steel, silver alloy foreign blanks, brass planchets from ammunition casings, or other materials that would instantly mark the coin as an ultra-rare mint error worth staggering amounts of money. And imagine finding a 1945 penny that looks silver or gray instead of copper, or one that weighs completely differently from a normal bronze cent, setting off alarms for advanced collectors and grading agencies who know that off-metal errors from the 1940s are among the rarest of all mint mistakes, and then consider the possibility of double strikes, broad strikes, or dramatically off-center errors from that year, coins that received 2 or even 3 impressions from the dies, creating ghost images, double portraits, misaligned lettering, or strengthened details that make the coin stand out immediately under inspection, with experts believing that extreme error 1940s cents with crisp details, strong doubling, or unusual strike patterns could fetch astronomical prices if they were preserved in pristine condition. And speaking of condition, another major factor contributing to the $9 million valuation comes from the belief that at least one surviving 1945 Wheat Penny exists in a nearly flawless, untouched state, possibly a specimen strike or early die strike that left the presses with perfect luster, razor-sharp details, a smooth surface free from contact marks, and a deep, glowing copper color that collectors dream of finding but almost never do with coins from this era. And if such a coin were paired with a major mint error or unusual alloy composition, its value would skyrocket beyond imagination, turning a humble penny into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. And then, there's the intriguing theory that transitional errors may have occurred in 1945, perhaps involving leftover experimental dies or prototype designs that were never meant for public release, coins that display slight variations in the font, spacing, or relief of the devices, anomalies so subtle that only a trained eye would notice them, yet significant enough to drive collectors into bidding wars and push auction houses to record-breaking heights. Because numismatics thrives on mystery, rarity, and the unexpected survival of pieces the mint never intended to leave the facility, and the 1945 Wheat Penny is a perfect candidate for such phenomena, especially considering the massive output and rushed wartime conditions that often led to quality control oversights. And speaking of oversights, imagine discovering a 1945 penny with a dramatic die crack running across Lincoln's portrait or through the date, or a spectacular die break forming a raised blob of metal that collectors lovingly refer to as a cud. Features that can transform a regular wheat cent into an eye-catching mint error worth thousands on its own. But when paired with an off-metal strike, double die obverse, or other rare anomaly, could boost the value into millions, especially if the coin has remained in remarkable condition since the day it was minted. And think about the possibility of a proof like 1945 penny, struck with such force and polished dies, that it displays mirror surfaces and frosty details even though no proofs were officially produced that year, meaning this coin could represent a test strike or special sample that somehow escaped the mint in a way that remains unknown. And numismatic history shows that such mysterious one-off strikes can bring jaw-dropping figures at auction, especially when collectors realize they are bidding on a coin that may be the only one of its kind in existence, and that scarcity, combined with the intense emotional connection collectors feel toward Lincoln cents, fuels the belief that a perfect storm of factors, a beautiful error, a flawless strike, an off-metal planchet, a historic wartime context, and decades of survival could easily push the 1945 wheat penny into the $9 million spotlight, inspiring treasure hunters, coin roll searchers, estate buyers, and history lovers to inspect every old penny they come across, because the thought of uncovering one of the rarest coins of the 20th century keeps the excitement alive in the hobby. And ultimately, the legendary $9 million 1945 wheat penny represents more than just a numismatic rarity. It symbolizes the thrill of discovery, the fascination of minting mysteries, the unpredictable nature of errors, and the fact that even the smallest, most unassuming coin can carry a story powerful enough to spark global attention. And as collectors continue to search, analyze, and dream, the hunt for the extraordinary 1945 wheat penny remains one of the most captivating journeys in the world of rare coins. Next, 1951's wheat penny. Exciting journey into the fascinating world of rare coins here on the Coins Explorer, where today we are diving deep into one of the most legendary and valuable pennies in American numismatic history, the 1951's wheat penny, a coin that has captured the imaginations of collectors worldwide and is currently valued at a staggering $52 million due to its extraordinary rarity, remarkable errors, and unique historical significance that set it apart from ordinary pennies in circulation. And the story of this coin begins with its minting at the San Francisco Mint in 1951, a period post-World War II, when the United States was experiencing significant economic growth. Yet the minting process still relied heavily on meticulous craftsmanship combined with the limitations of mid-20th century coin production techniques, which ironically contributed to some of the very errors that make this penny priceless today. As collectors know, the 1951's wheat penny is not just any common cent but a coin that exhibits a combination of minting mistakes, die variations, and anomalies that are exceptionally rare, including striking errors, double die impressions, and possible misaligned dies, all of which make each surviving specimen a numismatic treasure. And it is these mistakes that can exponentially increase a coin's value in the collector's market, because rarity and uniqueness are paramount when determining the worth of such a historic piece. Specifically, one of the most significant features of the 1951's wheat penny is the possibility of double die obverse or reverse, a phenomenon where the coin shows doubling of the date, lettering, or design elements, which occurs when the die itself has a misalignment during the hubbing process, and such an error can produce subtle or pronounced doubling that immediately signals to experts that this coin is far from ordinary. Additionally, some specimens of this penny show variations in the mint mark itself, with the S sometimes appearing unusually thick, off-center, or partially doubled, all of which add layers of intrigue and rarity, making it an object of desire for both seasoned collectors and serious investors. Furthermore, the metal composition of the 1951's wheat penny, predominantly copper, contributes to its durability but also allows for distinctive coloration and toning over time, with certain specimens exhibiting rich reddish-brown hues or deep chocolate tones that further enhance their aesthetic appeal and market value, and experts often emphasize that the condition of these pennies, graded meticulously by professional numismatic services, can mean the difference between a coin worth a few $100s and one worth tens of millions, because high-grade, error-laden 1951s pennies are exceptionally scarce, surviving only in limited numbers due to circulation wear, damage, or loss over the decades. And the provenance of these coins can also play a critical role in their valuation, as coins with well-documented histories, often traced through prestigious collections or previous auction records, tend to command a premium price due to the added layer of authenticity and historical significance. When we consider why this coin reaches a value of $52 million, it is a combination of its extreme rarity, the documented errors, historical context, and the excitement of owning a piece of history that very few people in the world can claim to possess. And collectors are especially drawn to the narrative behind these errors, imagining the minting process in 1951, the hands that prepared the dies, the striking of each coin, and how an unintentional misalignment or die defect created something far beyond ordinary, a coin that would become a legend in numismatic circles. And while many pennies were minted in 1951, the number of surviving S-mint pennies with these critical error characteristics is extraordinarily limited, making each find a monumental discovery, and the market demand for these coins is fueled not only by rarity, but by the stories and speculation surrounding possible unknown specimens, as collectors continue to hunt for undiscovered error coins that could rival or even surpass the current valuations, adding a thrilling treasure hunt element to the hobby. Furthermore, the significance of the 1951s Wheat Penny is not merely monetary. It also represents a tangible connection to American history, as the imagery on the Wheat Penny, Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the wheat stalks on the reverse, symbolizes both the leadership and agricultural prosperity of the United States during the mid-20th century, and owning such a coin is like holding a small, yet incredibly potent, piece of that history in your hand. Some experts even speculate that certain misstrikes or die anomalies in this coin may have occurred due to subtle changes in minting practices or variations in metal alloys that year, contributing to the uniqueness of the surviving specimens. And while many collectors dream of finding a common wheat penny tucked away in loose change, the reality is that discovering a 1951s penny with such rare error characteristics is almost mythical, which is why auctions for coins like this often see intense bidding wars, driving the price to astronomical levels, far beyond what one might expect for a coin that originally circulated for just 1 cent. And when considering the full range of possible errors that could be present in a 1951s Wheat Penny, one must also take into account die cracks, planchet defects, off-center strikes, and variations in strike pressure, all of which add to the potential value and allure of the coin, with each type of error attracting different collectors depending on their specialty or interest. And it is this intricate interplay of historical significance, error rarity, condition toning, and collector demand that ultimately justifies the jaw-dropping valuation of $52 million, making the 1951s Wheat Penny not just a coin, but a legendary artifact that represents the pinnacle of numismatic collecting. And as we delve deeper into the coin's market history, we see that past sales and private acquisitions have only reinforced its status as a must-have for high-end collections. And while some might question the practicality of such valuations, for collectors and investors alike, the 1951s Wheat Penny embodies scarcity, prestige, and a story that money alone cannot fully quantify, and the excitement surrounding it continues to grow as more collectors enter the field, auctions make headlines, and numismatic experts uncover additional insights into die varieties and error characteristics, all contributing to the ongoing legend of this incredible penny. Ultimately, the 1951s Wheat Penny stands as a testament to the fascinating world of coin collecting, where small imperfections, historical context, and rarity combine to create a treasure of immense value. and for anyone passionate about coins, owning or even witnessing a specimen of this legendary penny is an unforgettable experience, cementing its place as one of the most celebrated and sought-after coins in the entire history of United States numismatics, a true icon that commands attention, admiration, and a sense of awe among collectors, investors, and enthusiasts alike, making it more than just a coin, but a story, a legacy, and a symbol of the extraordinary potential hidden in the smallest pieces of history. Last 1944 Wheat Penny. Now we explore another most exciting deep dive into the fascinating universe of rare coins right here on the Coins Explorer, where every coin has a story, and some are worth more than their weight in gold. And today we are uncovering the secrets behind one of the most astonishingly valuable pennies ever produced by the United States Mint, the 1944 Wheat Penny, which has stunned collectors and investors alike with a jaw-dropping estimated value of $30 million, a number that seems almost surreal. For a coin that at first glance might appear ordinary to the untrained eye but is actually an extraordinary artifact of minting history and wartime production. And this penny is not just rare because of age or survival rate, but because of a series of unique errors, minting anomalies, and historical circumstances that make it a true gem in the numismatic world. And as we explore the 1944 Wheat Penny, it is essential to understand the context in which it was created, as the United States was still deeply embroiled in World War II, a period during which copper, the traditional metal used for pennies, was in high demand for war efforts, leading the mint to produce most pennies in 1944 using recycled steel coated with zinc instead of the usual copper, which makes the discovery of certain 1944 pennies struck on leftover copper planchets from 1943 extremely rare and highly sought after, because these copper pennies are not only visually distinct with a richer, reddish hue compared to the typical silver-colored steel pennies of 1944, but also historically significant as errors of production that highlight the challenges and intricacies of wartime coinage. And these copper 1944 pennies, sometimes referred to as 1944 copper cents, are among the most coveted pieces for collectors, often commanding astronomical prices at auctions due to their extreme scarcity and the sheer improbability of their creation, as records show only a handful of these coins slip through quality control unnoticed, making them almost like a minting miracle, and the value of $30 million reflects not only their rarity but also the intense competition among high-end collectors, investors, and museums to secure a piece of numismatic history. And when examining a 1944 Wheat Penny closely, several features and potential errors contribute to its extraordinary value, including die cracks, double dies, repunchment marks, off-center strikes, and other anomalies that, when combined with the copper composition, create a perfect storm of collectability. And some coins have been found with subtle doubling on Liberty's face or the date, tiny misalignments on the reverse side with the wheat stalks, or slight variations in lettering, all of which are carefully scrutinized by experts using magnification, grading systems, and spectral analysis to determine authenticity and precise classification. And each detail can exponentially increase the coin's desirability among top-tier collectors, who are not only hunting for a rare metal composition, but also for the story, the uniqueness, and the proof of a minting mishap that survived decades in circulation or in private collections. And beyond the copper anomaly, there are other fascinating production quirks that make 1944 pennies compelling, such as variations in the mint facilities, with Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco producing slightly different strike qualities, differences in planchet thickness, and variations in zinc coatings on accidental steel planchets, which means that even within this 1 year, the coins can differ subtly but meaningfully, and these subtleties are meticulously cataloged in numismatic guides and auction records, feeding the frenzy among collectors who prize even the tiniest distinctions. And in addition to the physical and historical attributes, the provenance of specific 1944 Wheat Pennies has also significantly impacted their market value, with coins that have traceable ownership, documentation from previous auctions, or connection to famous collectors fetching significantly higher prices, as buyers pay not just for the coin itself but for the tangible link to a documented history that adds credibility and prestige. And some coins discovered in estates, old coin rolls, or forgotten collections have suddenly transformed ordinary collectors into millionaires overnight, illustrating how the allure of these pennies goes far beyond simple metal content or face value. And while $30 million may seem almost unfathomable for a small, everyday object like a penny, this price point is a reflection of decades of numismatic study, careful authentication, the rarity of surviving specimens, and the excitement of owning a piece of history that very few people in the world can claim to possess. And experts often stress that any 1944 wheat penny being considered for high-value transactions must undergo rigorous authentication, including chemical analysis to verify copper composition, microscopic inspection for minting anomalies, and certification by top grading services like PCGS or NGC, as even minor doubts about authenticity can dramatically affect value. And because of these factors, high-end collectors often travel the world, attend exclusive auctions, or enter private sales to acquire these coins, sometimes bidding aggressively for just one specimen, which drives prices ever higher and creates the sort of competitive frenzy that elevates a simple wartime penny into a multi-million-dollar treasure. And it is also worth noting that the appeal of the 1944 wheat penny goes beyond financial investment, as it embodies a tangible connection to American history, representing a time of scarcity, wartime ingenuity, and the meticulous craft of the United States Mint. And collectors often describe holding one of these pennies as touching a piece of the past, a moment frozen in metal that survived economic turmoil, world conflict, and the passage of generations. And the psychological and emotional factors in numismatics cannot be understated, because coins like the 1944 wheat penny trigger fascination, nostalgia, and the thrill of owning something nearly mythical, a perfect combination of rarity, aesthetic, historical significance, and era-based intrigue, which together justify the astronomical valuations we see today. And while most 1944 pennies circulate for mere cents and change, the discovery of a copper error or a coin with unique die variations can transform a collector's portfolio overnight, leading to intense interest in mint records, die pairings, and even the tiniest surface blemishes, which might be seen as imperfections to the casual observer, but are prized as markers of authenticity and scarcity in the high-end market. And the study of these pennies has also advanced numismatic science, with research into planchet preparation, die-wear patterns, alloy composition, and wartime minting practices providing insights into broader questions about production quality, metallurgy, and error frequency, making each 1944 wheat penny not just a collector's item, but also a small laboratory of history and craft. And when you consider all the factors, historical context, wartime anomalies, copper errors, minting mistakes, unique die characteristics, provenance, and the thrill of rarity, it becomes clear why a 1944 wheat penny can command a staggering $30 million in today's market, attracting attention not just from collectors, but from historians, investors, and enthusiasts eager to own a tangible piece of an era that shaped the modern world. And for anyone lucky enough to hold one, it is not just a coin. It is a symbol of perseverance, meticulous craftsmanship, the quirks of human production, and the extraordinary stories hidden in objects that most people overlook, making the 1944 wheat penny a timeless legend, a crown jewel of numismatics, and a reminder that even the smallest artifacts can carry immense value, both financially and historically. And as we conclude this exploration of the remarkable 1944 wheat penny, it is essential for collectors and enthusiasts alike to remain vigilant for hidden treasures in rolls, collections, and estates, because every coin has a story, every anomaly has a chance to change history. And the next 1944 wheat penny discovered might just be the key to unlocking another $30 million treasure, reaffirming the excitement, unpredictability, and enduring fascination that makes coin collecting not just a hobby, but a journey into the past and a pursuit of rare, priceless pieces of history that continue to captivate the imagination of collectors across the globe.